And at that time, I remember we were having this credit card swipe payment system in this stuff. I remember sitting at home because they are the first paying customer. I kept refreshing my computer because if the payment come through, it came through. The mistake was it pulled in all $5,000, and I was scratching. Oh my God! First paying customer, we are going to piss them off.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to sit down with our three co-founders today to unpack the mystery and magic behind the founding of Responsive and the journey that we've been on since then. So let's dive right in. Tell me, how did it all begin?
We don't have any cool garage story or buddies lived under a dorm room, nothing like that. It was truly a pain point that Shankar Sundar and I endeavored in our prior life. But the whole idea, it started. I was working at another enterprise software company. All three of us worked at the same company. At that time, when we were contemplating this idea, usually Sundar Shankar and I meet every weekend to contemplate some ideas. We always been passionate about doing something. We tried a bunch of ideas, but never put our pen to the paper and say, okay, this is what we do. But one day I remember I was having a lunch with some of my ex-colleagues, SEs basically. They invited me for lunch and I went there, and at the lunch table, both the SEs were really complaining about how horrible their life is on that particular day. Why? Because they were responding to RFP and how, dreadful it was for them. So they wish they had some ideas, but of course I can relate that because in our life, Shankar Sundar and I, the quote-unquote subject matter experts, we have responded to RFPs in our lives. So that evening, we happened to meet at the Starbucks, and we said, okay, here is a pain point I heard, and it kind of started from there. And Sundar said, why don't we just think the long process of, responding to an RFP, issuing an RFP. And I believe Shankar said, why don't we look at the domain? And Sundar said, if it is short, if we can get a .com domain, we'll go. And Shankar looked at, I think he was looking at GoDaddy on his phone. And he said, I found RFPIO.com, from back-to-back idea generation. It all happened probably in less than 30 minutes. From the day we sat at the coffee table and we wrapped up the GoDaddy domain registration, probably took us 30 minutes because that problem resonated really well with us because we could see why the SCs were dreading and why it was painful for people who are going through the process. So that's how RFPIO started, which is now Responsive.
There's so many things aligned. Actually, there was an impeccable urge from three of us to build something big, which could be a profound impact on the prospects and customers and all. But when Ganesh mentioned about it, when three of us have been talking on multiple ideas, but this one, certainly three of us have a fair share of experience in understanding what is the friction in the sales process. So we could able to, because we were helping different roles at different companies, or including the past company one or other way, supporting sales, knowing three of us that, sales is a breadwinner for any business, right? And supporting that a more meaningful way, we were able to connect right in that instant. See, we have ideated and so many other things, but more than that, this one is, I would attribute to our past experience and also urge to build something. And in fact, we were so aligned what not to do, both from a culture perspective, from business, certain businesses perspective. It's all very timely to that extent. But again, this idea as such stemmed from the conversation. But that's a moment I cherish still today, which is in my lens all along, or it will be there for the rest of my life, I guess.
So what I'm hearing from you is you recognize some pain points personally in your roles from your fellow colleagues. But it takes more than that to really validate that you're onto something. How did you really get that broader intelligence that this was a problem worth solving for other teams and customers beyond what you were seeing individually or in your own company?
Well, as Ganesh and Shankar indicated, it was pretty much, as soon as we hit upon this idea, there was no second thoughts in our mind. up to that point, we had jumped around with a lot of ideas and nothing really connected the way this particular one connected when we talked specifically about RFP. That's why we immediately picked that name, RFPIO. Maybe we were a little too narrowly focused at the time and said, oh, this is sounds so great, let's go after it. So that's where we started. It connected not just with us, and we were fortunate to have access to the people that we had access to at the time. In Oregon, Portland was a great environment. We were able to go talk to different organizations, our supporters. We went to OEN and Oregon Technology Association. We went to these pitch meetings. Everywhere we went, we saw support. It connected with people. We didn't have to explain a whole lot. Our pitch were pretty short and brief. Immediately, people got it and they wanted to know more. What else are you thinking? What else are you going to do? In fact, any event we went to, people immediately started asking about, wait, can we use it for grant writing? Can we use it for security questionnaires? Can we use it for due diligence? And that's when it occurred to us, it's pretty much wide open. How we solve the problem for RFP applies to a lot of other use cases. We let the name stand, but pursue after it. Went after whatever problem we can solve. And we also had the fortune of connecting with some companies like Smarsh that were willing to give us a chance, this early product at try, and give us feedback, and that helped us a great deal. We have been fortunate since, and with our customers being so engaged every step of the way, telling us, here's where you can do better, here's what else you can do. All of that has shaped what we are.
Two important decisions helped us in the early stages. When we started at the Starbucks, right, Sundar on his own product side, he went on and on the buy side also, because that was the vision. So Sundar was talking about, hey, it would be cool to have two sides of the spectrum, the buy side and the sell side. The original idea came from just the sell side, which is what we ended up focusing on. When we were pitching to some investors, one thing happened is, and the investor was talking about, you guys seems to be boiling the ocean, trying to solve both sides of the spectrum. Where these are two different personas. These are not same ICPs. They have a different requirement. They have a different buy cycle. So I think we didn't have any ego, or I think that was one of the best pivotal moments for us. We said, okay, we're going to cut down that whole, at that stage of startup life where we have put in energy and development cost into building something. We said, we are going to stay focused on the responding side. That is number one decision. The second one is, again, going back to the focus. We stayed focused on one thing back in the day was when we started, okay, we found we'll focus on responding. And we said we are going to be the best in one thing on processing as simple as Excel document. We didn't do anything fancy at that time. With the best decision we made, okay, we said we are going to be the best in class. No one else can beat us when it comes to an RFP that our customer receive in an Excel document. And we, in fact, patented it. And we proprietary we developed that. When I still remember those days, we spent countless nights on that to solve how easily we can bring an Excel into this thing. That is, I think, was a big decision in our early stages of responsive or RFPIO, kind of propelled us because we were the experts.
Now, you've talked about focusing on solving the right problem and being able to solve it incredibly well, but it's beyond the product. You're building a company. And you're building a culture. And one of the things I really appreciate as someone who chose to come to work at Responsive, who's not a founder, is how deeply invested this company is in its culture. I'd love to hear more about how you really grounded Responsive in core values and how those continue to exist and really manifest in all that we do here.
It's not from book. It is there collectively in our commitment and in our practice from inception. We always align down, putting employee people first mindset and what not to do. We had a greater commitment even before we zeroed an idea as such. That's why people who stayed, who left, very dear to us. When somebody left also, what is that as a company we need to accommodate, we need to take care. That has a profound impact on our thought process, on our policy and practices. Initially, there was a lot of conversation on culture and what it is, because probably, I don't want to point, but to our past experience, we learned certain things collectively, what's good, what's not good. and we zeroed it in on it. I feel that's the one which attracted the amazing talent, and even people who left, they certainly have contributed and they have echoed the core culture and values with which we are working for this company.
We collectively believed cultural values are like fingerprints for every human being. It's very unique, very distinct, and it is what defines you as a company. The companies who established value, the odds of them to be successful is much higher than the odds of companies who are successful where they don't not define the values, because it pulls everybody in the same direction. It grounds all of us in what we do. The values that you see in our website, the values that we practice in today are, I kind of formalized in 2019. The first 3 years, we had all the different stories. I think each one of us may have a favorite one. S4 is my favorite. I think BAN is Sundar's. Sundar is the one who coined BAN, and GBT from Shankar. As you all know, S4 stands for see something, say something. When I landed from India, I landed in Tacoma. That was the first time me coming to the US. I was at the Tacoma airport waiting for my connecting flight in Seattle. I kept hearing this in the PA. Hey, if you see an unattended bag, say it. If you see something, say something. It was kind of glued onto me and said, oh, why it's only to be at a TSA or in an airport? It has to be everywhere. I remember I was in a plane. We were talking, and I think Sundar called me and said, hey, we were trying to formalize this. I was talking to a customer. They told me, because Sundar was a product, and they said the customer apparently told Sundar, we have never worked with a software provider who is so quick in developing something. They requested us not to lose that mindset. They requested us not to lose that mentality. I think that is when Sundar said, hey, we should not leave that agility in our mind. And it became a ban, be agile and nimble. We said, okay, every software company today in the world are going to say we are creating efficiency. But how can we take this to one level high? How can I be fair to my employees? Because I want, all of us in this meeting, I want my time to be respected. I want my time to be, treated fairly. It's only fair for our employees. I remember Shankar telling this. We are not superhumans. 10 years before, we were employees, at that time 3 or 4 years before we were employees, we sat and listened to yarns from other leaders. Now we are on this side. This should not make us superhuman. We should be the same as Ganesh, Shankar, and Sundar, where an employees are. We should be respectful of each other's time, should not take it for granted. We should not take employees' situation for granted. So that kind of baked into the GBT. We have a value called GID, which stands for Get It Done. It's actually not Get It Done. Original value was GTDDD. The GTDDD stood for Get the Damn Deal Done. When we kind of started formalizing it, we said it looks very sales focused. So we want to apply that logic for every department. So we made it like Get It Done. Another last value we used to be called as DMC, Don't Mess with Customer. And when we rebranded the company, we all agreed this negative reinforcement is not needed. So we changed that value to DOC, which stands for Delight Our Customers. Anything that we do have to delight our customers because they are the ones who are keeping our lights on. We can't piss them off. They already have 1,000 problems on their shoulder. We should not become the 1,001th problem to deal with. That is the mindset we always had. So that's how we kind of came up with this 5 values. Get it done. S4, see something, say something. Be agile and nimble for BAN. GPT for give back time. And the last but not the least is DOC, which is delighting our customer. So that's how these values got evolved.
That's incredible. And an honest confession for me is that when we spoke about this in my interview process, it made a real difference in my decision to join the company. So I do really appreciate the intention with which we've developed these and rolled them out across Responsive.
We are very proud, and anything in this company is how this team has able to implement these cultural values. It's pretty amazing. The impact is profound. The impact is amazing. I can go on and on about this one, but if anything that the three of us are very proud of is creating a company which is really glued into the values and they practice every single day. I can't ask for a better outcome when we were, defining these values.
You mentioned earlier, the company was originally RFPIO, and arguably that was far too narrow, especially given some of the opportunities that you saw early on. Now we've evolved to strategic response management as a category, as a platform. So take me through that journey and evolution and really kind of tapping into that opportunity and really expanding what Responsive was doing.
We started listening to our customers. They were talking about not just responding to RFPs, grant writing. They used for due diligence questionnaire. They used for anything that do with responding where they need the compliant response to go out the door. Is when we realized, okay, we got something bigger than just the RFP software. We truly believe RFP software is a subcategory of an overarching category, which is what strategic response management, because there are other responses that goes through the platform. We are solving multiple use cases, and there is no clear defined way of looking at it. People are searching for proposal software. People are searching for RFP software. That's when we realized proposal is probably 10% of what we do. There are 90% more on the workflow collaboration. Now, especially with the AI, there's so much more than just preparing a proposal we do in our platform. So that's how it kind of evolved as a strategic response management.
It's how our customers immediately directed us in this direction, telling us you're not just an RFP response software. And it's our recognition. And by the time we rebranded, our product had already become this response management, the broader solution. Every transaction, if we look at from a business standpoint, every transaction is some form of information exchange. Business wants to know something about another business before they would engage with them. And it could be anything. It could be RFPs, RFIs, security questionnaires, due diligence, and whatever we call it. Our rebranding or our investing in the strategic response management is just an acknowledgement of that reality. We are a true information exchange platform. Now, how do we make that even more effective, broadly effective, and stop talking about just RFP? Enabled us to think broader. It enabled us to look at our platform and our solution in a much broader light. And that has led to our roadmap and how we approach our platform and product and our innovation very differently. So it's not just a rebranding. It's not just attaching a label to it. It's how we think, how we solve problems, how we present it. All of that has changed. And we see that connecting. We see that resonating with our customers.
Latter part of the journey, I think in 2020, we were talking about, hey, let us put the SRM. We are going beyond, right? But what is that confidence is when somebody comes and say, oh, we have those puzzle pieces. In 2018, I remember I pulled both of these guys and drawing on the board content management center and relaying it to different use cases. Whether we did or not, our thought process was there from the day one or during the journey. We are keep changing, right? That's beyond RFPs. It is there, but the message is super important. That's what we felt good about when the response management team came, and after that strategic response management came. So it is an amazing transformation from where we have as a building blocks, and after that how these wrappers help it to better message.
We've talked about the different types of questionnaires or assessments or responses. It may be easy to think that those are all reactive, but really we've seen the opportunity to be more proactive, and there's a reason why it's called strategic response management as well. I would love to hear how you think about not only just the business of responding, but, as we say, the business of responding is the business of winning. What's the bigger opportunity for organizations using strategic response management?
Any software, you can put it in 3 different buckets. The bucket number 1 is software that helps customers make money, software that can help customers save cost, the software that can help customers mitigate risk. At Responsive, the strategic response management actually touches all 3. If you're not winning an RFP, if you're not going through a DDQ process, you're not inside a deal. That is number 1 criteria. We touch the revenue for our customers. The second one is we are talking about speaking the same language across the board. Everyone speaking the same language so that nobody's spinning up the content every time. So being more efficient. The third one is there is no misinformation going out the door, and the experience when, as a subject matter expert in my prior life, was dreadful. When you receive an RFP, it was dreading. Oh man, it feel like I have to write a board exam to go through this. I felt like I'm taking a test. So the experience puts the company at risk of losing employee morale. That is the third bucket that we solve with automation. We can actually keep those employees morale high, and the experience they are themselves having, and the experience they're giving to their sellers, and the experience ultimately they're giving to their own customers has a big impact. So any platform that falls under strategic response management will help the customers to touch all three, help them make money, be more efficient, do more with less, and ultimately, provide an amazing experience for their own employees and for their customers.
The market cannot stop talking about AI. Neither can we. I joke that I dream about it because we're doing so much with it. But this isn't new to responsive. Tell me about how AI has really shaped the vision and strategy from the very beginning to where we are now.
One of the features we talked about is that file import. At the time, we didn't immediately get on the internet and search and see what our competition was doing so we can do something different or better. That's not how we approached it. It never crossed our mind that we will ask our customers to take these RFPs from the file in whatever format they receive and put it into a standard template to bring it into responsive. That was not even an option we ever considered. Our immediate reaction was that will be a major roadblock for our customers using the product. We should allow our customers to bring whatever format they have, Excel, Word, and bring it into the application and not have this tedious process of copying and pasting it into a template and then bring all of it back into the source file. That's not something we're going to ask our customers. That is what I believe put us on the map immediately as we launched. And that set the stage for how we approach our product, including AI, looking at innovation. How do we constantly stay ahead, not just from competition, but the problems our customers are facing. The problems our customers facing are evolving. How the types of questions are being asked and the type of information they have to provide. So AI has always presented that opportunity. So we introduced it where it made sense, not just for the sake of introducing AI. It has to make sense. AI has to help truly solve some problems, whether we introduced it in information classification, information organization, recommendation. So that's how we were very deliberate in introducing AI. And today, as fast as AI has evolved in the last 2+ years, and it's still evolving, as we take a measured approach, looking at AI, where it makes sense, how do we apply it? How do we strike a balance between staying ahead and keeping up with the technology and the evolution and customer expectation, but balancing it against the risks of going too far ahead and putting our customers at risk by introducing technology that's not ready for prime time. Now, the most recent evolution of that is agents. When something gets a label attached, seemingly it just goes viral, like vibe coding. That's a thing now. Everyone's talking about it. But it's been around for some time now. But once it got a label attached to it, everyone seems to recognize it. I think that's what happened with agents. But the hype aside, there is immense opportunity with agents. I don't look at agents as digital employees that can replace people. I don't think the technology has evolved to that point. Today, agents can be effectively deployed on specialist tasks that can help our customers complete tasks that they can reliably hand off to an intelligent system. And that's how we are approaching it. And I think it has an incredible potential. We are already starting to see that with some of the early agents we are rolling out with our customers. And I'm very excited about where it's going to go in the next year or two, and in whatever form it might take. It may not be called agents in a year or two from now. No one can predict, but it does have the potential, the core of it, the concept, the idea as an incredible power that we can harness.
So we've been talking about the responsive story. Critical to that are all of the customer stories that have gotten us to where we are today. I'm sure you have a favorite, and I would love to hear a particularly memorable customer story?
I'll start with the first one, Jennifer, who's still a customer, first paying customer is Smarsh. We had an article published in TAO. TAO's chairman had a column in PBJ, Portland Business Journal. So he wrote an article about response of the up-and-coming startup solving an RFP problem. I was amazed. Immediately the same day or the next day, we received an email from Smarsh, who's also a portal company. They said, hey, we have this problem of responding to RFP. We would love to, understand what you guys have to offer. Do we schedule a demo? And at that time, I remember we were having this credit card swipe payment system in this system. I remember sitting at home, because they are the first paying customer, I kept refreshing my computer because if the payment come through, it came through. The mistake was it pulled in all $5,000. And I was scratching, oh my God, first paying customer, we are going to piss them off. But the customer was so, understandable. And we reversed the payment. And it was a really great, experience for me and, and a memorable thing, which I cherished for the entire life. The CEO of Smarsh, back then, Steve March, ended up investing in Response. We became an investor not because we know them each other, because he loved the product so much. He saw the real value. And in fact, he was the one who also connected us to K1. So it's a lot of chain of events because of one customer.
That's a tough question. Who's my favorite? I mean it. I will not pick a favorite. Every customer, especially as a product person, every conversation with our customers inform me, educate me in some way, and I truly appreciate it. And I'm not just saying this for the interview, but that if I have to maybe use one as an example, I'd say Microsoft. What I really appreciate about Microsoft and companies like our customers like Microsoft is they push us in the right direction. Microsoft has incredible brand power, right? They can demand from us to take our product in any direction they wish to. But Microsoft pushes always forward in the direction where we should be going anyway. And I appreciate that conversation. I appreciate having that back and forth and come out learning, yes, I can see why they are pushing us in this direction. And going into this conversations with our customers without that prejudice is really important. I'm not going into the meetings to tell them what I know, what I think is right, but just listening. And every one of those conversations just doesn't benefit me, benefits us, our product, and our direction.
In the journey, there is a goosebumps on certain phases. Very early on, I think, if I'm not wrong, Ganesh was demoing. They were asking something. One of the customers from Australia. On the following day, what they've asked, we were able to demo it back. They were surprised. When you guys have an amazing product and engineering team, yesterday we discussed, today it delivered. That gave the bulk. We have what it takes to convince someone. Microsoft, like Sundar mentioned, or similar companies like Microsoft, they can spend $1 million to vet it out. Who is the right partner or vendor for them to subscribe. Microsoft issued an RFP. They are validating 2 or 3. We are one among them. In between, they stopped and they said, there's no point in further going. We see the value in the sponsor, RFPIO at the time. And they moved on with us. But those are the moments when I heard, we got what it takes to scale. Those customer feedbacks had a profound impact on me in believing that we got it.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom today. I'm certainly leaving deeply inspired, even though I already work here. So really appreciate the conversation. And for the broader viewing audience, encourage you to follow Ganesh, Sundar, and Shankar as they continue to share insights. Connect with us, follow the company on LinkedIn. And thank you once again.
Okay, thank you.